friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. Today I'm going to be doing another tag for you. I recently have been responding to comments on my shelf spotlight of a ton of my big books that are 600 pages or more, and I kept referring to the idea that problems of a book nerd, I don't want to spend the time on these big books because I have so many little books that I want to read. And I literally said that in the comments, dilemma, this is a dilemma of a reader or dilemma of a book nerd. And then yesterday or a couple days ago, my friend Lindsey from Lindsey's Little Library created an original tag called Dilemmas of a Book Nerd. And I'm very excited that she tagged me in it because there are certain issues that as readers we have to deal with. And this tag highlights 10 of those different things. So I thought it was a lot of fun just to kind of chit chat, and another way for you to get to know my reading tastes and how I deal with some of these dilemmas. So let's just jump right in. There are 10 questions, like I said. The first one being book storage. Now, if you're like me, you have loads of books. I know there are a lot of readers out there who just use their library and purposely keep a smaller number of books on their shelves. I am not one of those people. I have loads and loads of books, and that does create a book storage dilemma. Thankfully, the house that I moved into to rent here in Richmond has an extra bedroom that is kind of like a guest room, but I have turned it into a library. So I have bookshelves on 3 of the 4 walls in that room, and I do film in there sometimes, so you've seen me sitting in front of some of those shelves. I'm also in a little den kind of room that I have this bookshelf behind me and another bookshelf over there. And in my living room, I have 2 bookshelves that have books. In my bedroom, I have books. I have cookbooks in the kitchen. My brother has books in his bedroom. And the only room in the house that doesn't have any books is the bathroom. So basically, books are everywhere in my house. I am not super organized. I do try to be a little bit organized. I mean, I have a couple shelves that are just fiction. I have a middle grade and children's bookshelf. I have a Christian fiction bookshelf. Out here is like a mishmash of things. Some of my pretty series are on a shelf in my living room. All of my Jane Austen inspired books are together. In my bedroom, it's just kind of like books that are interesting to me that maybe I want to pick up at some point while I'm laying in bed. All of my sequels that I'm working on are up here. Fiction Guild books are here. Random rainbow stack behind me. Just books all over the place. I try to keep it a little bit organized, but that always is a work in progress because I just like to move things around. So dilemma number 2 is tracking. How do you keep track of all the books that you own and all the books that you read? And I am a huge fan of Goodreads. I keep track always on Goodreads, even before BookTube. I think I started really using it in 2013 of keeping track of all of the books that I have read during the year. And I even made Goodreads work for me for all the books that I own as well. I created another shelf that is a sticky shelf. So the default, I think, is read, want to read. Are those the only 2 sticky shelves? I think those are the only 2 shelves that you start with. Books that you've read and books that you want to read. I've created a couple more sticky shelves. So I have a shelf of owned TBR that I scanned in all my books and put them on my owned TBR. And I have a shelf for DNF. So I have those 4 because I don't want to mark a book read if I have DNF'd it. That goes in its own category. Yeah, so all of my books can fit into one of those 4 categories, and they have to be one or the other on Goodreads. And then I can add additional shelves like the year that I read it. I've started tracking like a World War II book or a book that made me cry. Little things like that, which I'm not very good at. I'm very good at keeping track of the year, and then either it's read, want to read are books that just as I'm watching videos that sound interesting to me. And then owned TBR are books that I actually own. So once I haul them, I scan them in and add them to that shelf on Goodreads. And then if I DNF it. So those are my 4 main shelves. But yeah, I love Goodreads. Someday I should do a video showing you how I do that. That might be interesting. Let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing. But moving on. Dilemma number 3 is borrowing. Do you lend your books out to people? And I absolutely do. If I think a book is great, I want other people to read it, and I'm happy to lend it to them. I understand that that means sometimes they're not going to come back in pristine condition, but most of my books were bought used anyways. Most of the books that I own are secondhand, so I definitely don't mind lending out books. It is a little tricky to remember who borrowed what, but it's just an object to me. I don't hold them so carefully to my heart that I don't share them. They're not that important to me. I love my books and they're very important to me, but I'm happy to share them with other people. So yes, I definitely let people borrow books. Number 4 is buying. How do you buy or acquire your books? And I think I mentioned this already a little bit, but I get almost all of my books secondhand. So I often unhaul books and take them to the secondhand bookstore and get credit, and then use that store credit to purchase more books. I always go to library book sales or the sale shelf at a library. That's probably where I get the majority of my books. I do have some books that get sent to me, such as the Fiction Guild Christian fiction books. Occasionally, an independent publisher or author will reach out, and if it's something that I'm interested in, I'll say yes. I don't do a lot of reaching out to publishers about new books, and I'll talk about that in another dilemma coming up in a little bit. So I don't get sent too many books, but I buy books secondhand, and I love my library. So I always have a couple library books around as well. So that is how I acquire books. So many books. Oh, thrift stores as well, yard sales in the summertime. Yeah, however I can get them secondhand and cheap. That is the key, because girl does not have money to buy books new, that's for sure. Okay, dilemma number 5 is like comments that you get from people, such as like, how do you respond to people who say, how do you read all the time? Or why do you read so many books? Or how do you read so many books? Or other comments about your reading. I don't get these kind of comments that often. I guess I do a little bit like with book club people, but it's more in awe, like, whoa, you read a lot. Like, yeah, I really do. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't know. I don't get a lot of comments like that, and I don't, especially from people that are trying to be rude or don't understand. Yeah, I don't have to deal with this dilemma that often, so I don't really know. I guess I would just say, yeah, I don't watch TV, I read instead. Because I don't watch a lot of TV. I do here and there, but I just prioritize reading, and that's what I like to do in my free time. So yeah, I guess that's not really a dilemma for me. Number 6 though is next book. How do you choose what you're going to read next? And I'm a big fan of monthly TBRs, but I've loved this year broadening out that horizon and just kind of giving myself lots of choices each month, instead of a very strict TBR. And I've really been enjoying having a little bit more freedom. But I'm also not set with those TBRs. So I think when it comes right down to it, the question is, how do you pick your next read? I just go with my mood for the most part. I don't have often a schedule of things I need to read. I'm not reading a lot of newer books or getting books from publishers and have that kind of required schedule to my reading. I just have the freedom to read what I want when I want to read it. And if a book is not suiting my mood, then I can feel free to set that down and try something different. So yeah, I guess I'm a mood reader for the most part. I do like having a generalized TBR or a smaller TBR, because if I just walk into my library and look at all those books, it's a little bit overwhelming. So I like pulling out books and setting them on the top of my bookshelf that's over there. And then choosing from those, just what looks good to me. That's what I do. Number 7 is travel. That's the dilemma. How do you decide what to bring on vacation or on a trip with you? I always have audiobooks when I am doing a car ride. So like to go to my mom's house is about a 9 or 10 hour car ride. Definitely can fit in an audiobook on the way home and an audiobook on the way back. Same for most of my car trips. I've often lived about 5 or 6 hours away from home. I'm a little farther now. So audiobooks are my friend in the car for sure. And then I always do have a hard copy or two, a print book with me. I remember one year my mom and my sister and I went on a camping sort of vacation in South Carolina, and I think I brought 7 or 8 library books and read them all during the week. So yeah, I'm a big fan of a print book. However, this summer I'm taking a trip to Turkey with my mom, and we are only bringing a carry-on. We do not want to check luggage at all. So I do not think I'm going to bring any print copies of books with me at all. I think I'm going to only use my Kindle, which I never talk about because I never read on it. But I have so many books on there, and I think this trip might spark again a desire to read from my Kindle. Hopefully, because I have so many books on there that I'd like to read. Again, that might be another video to show you what books are on my Kindle. So yeah, I have a Kindle. I just don't use it that often, but I think for a good, like an overseas trip, a Kindle is such a useful tool. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing this summer. Dilemma number 8 is annotating. Do you highlight or write in your books? And for me, the answer is no. Unless, in general, if it's a fiction book, I do not write in it. I often unhaul my books. I don't keep a lot of them once I read them. If it's a book I know I'm gonna keep, I'm okay with writing in my books, like underlining things that stand out to me. I'm much more likely to put a little tab, a little sticky note on the side of it. If it's a learning book, like a Christian nonfiction especially, I do underline in those ones a lot more often. Just I feel like it helps me to stay focused and paying attention and remember things a little bit more. So I'm not opposed to writing or annotating in my books. Often I read mainly for enjoyment and escape. And so I'm not often picking incredibly literary books or books that are teaching me something. I just want to get sucked into the story, and I feel like stopping to underline or write takes me out of that, like, being engrossed in the story. So I don't do it. I'm not opposed to it, but yeah, it's not something that I do. So number 9 is new or backlist. Which do you prefer, new releases or backlist books? And I am 100% a fan of the backlist. Most of my shelves are filled with backlist books, books that are just a little older. They're not the newest releases. I don't even pay any attention for the most part of what's coming up unless there's like a sequel to a series that I'm involved in. Every once in a while, I'm aware, I'm a part of this community and I'm a part of Bookstagram as well. So I am seeing new books that come out there, but I like to give the dust time to settle and find out what really people are thinking about these books, not just, hey, it's publication day, yay, for this new book. I want to know, do you like it? What is it about this book that you like? Let that dust settle, let people really have a reaction to the book, and then maybe once the hype has died down, maybe then I will pick it up. So I'm not opposed to reading new releases. I just don't often read new releases. I have hundreds of unread books on my shelves. Hundreds. I can't add to that all of the newest releases that sound even remotely interesting to me. I can't. So I'm going to wait and let other people do the vetting, figure out if it's good, figure out if it's something that I'll like, let me know. I'll pay attention, add it to my want to read list on Goodreads, and then someday, after a year or two passes, when people have read it and put it in the library book sale, then I'll find it and add it to my shelves. But yeah, I'm not usually up to date on the new releases. I'm definitely a backlist girl. All right, number 10 is sequels. Do you read books as they are released or wait for an entire series to be published before reading one book? I definitely am somewhere in the middle. I don't wait for a series to necessarily be done, always, but I tend to not binge through a series anyway. So all of these are series I'm in the middle of. There's so many. And there's other series that I've started that I don't own the next one, but I usually read one and then I wait. I don't often jump right into the next one anyway. I don't like to wait. Like, I just read Thunderhead, which is the sequel to Scythe, and I have to wait until the fall for the third book in that, hopefully, trilogy. I don't know if it's going to be more than 3. And I'm not a fan of having to wait, but in all reality, I probably would have waited anyway. I don't know. I don't tend to binge through a series. I'm okay with having to wait a little bit, but it would annoy me if I was like through all of these series and waiting for the next book to come out. I don't know. I guess I would lean towards reading series that are already complete. In my mind, that's what I would want to do. I would want to be able to read the next one right away if I had that desire. So yeah, I kind of fall somewhere in the middle of that one. That is all of the 10 questions that Lindsey had. I am going to add one more because it's something that has come up in the last week for me answering comments, and that is big books versus short books. That's a dilemma for me. So I guess the question would be, do you like reading long books, or would you prefer to just stick to short books? And I like reading long books, but the dilemma comes in that I feel like I'm missing out because the time commitment to reading a big book is so much longer. And I could read 2, 3, 4, 5 sometimes shorter books in the same amount of time that it takes to read that long book. And so I have that FOMO, like the fear of missing out. And it's a real dilemma. But I like the long books. I like being, as long as it's a page turner and really an engrossing story, I like being caught up in another world and another, like a family drama or whatever it is that's making the book be so long. Often they're fantasy, so it is another world. But I like big books, but I do have that FOMO of I could be reading so many more books because I just have so many books that I want to read. All right, so I'm going to tag some people because Lindsey just tagged a few people, and this is a new tag and I think it's so much fun. So I'm going to go on my subscription feed right now and just tag like a bunch of people that have put out videos in the last couple days. So get ready for this list. I'm tagging Emily from Books for Life, Nicole from Girlygirlbookworm, Mary Ellen, I think, from Portraits of Me, Leslie from Leslie Ring, Laura from Booky Lorra, Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly, Amanda from The Curly Reader, Audrey from Chapter in Converse, Amy from Amy Poole. Hey, I just realized a bunch of those people are ones that I have shouted out recently. I'm going to keep going. Karen from Runwright Reads, Kelsey from Kelsey Reads, and Robin from the Driftless Reader. All of you guys put out videos yesterday that I haven't watched yet. So go ahead and answer these questions. I would love to hear. Let me know if you, and anyone else that wants to do this tag as well. Thank you, Lindsey, for making this tag. It's a lot of fun. Well, I'll list all the people I tagged and put a link to Lindsey's original video down below. As you know, I love talking with you down in the comments, so I would love to hear from you. What is one of these dilemmas that is a big dilemma for you? What is one of these situations that were listed that is a big struggle for you as a reader? Or not a big struggle? Let me know. Let's chat down in the comments. I love talking to you down there. Give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll be talking to you in another video very soon. Bye!